Okay, so we're going to load up the map editor, and to do that, you do that from your Steam library page. Just click the play button and launch the map editor. Okay, from inside the editor, go to File, and we're going to do New Map from Template. This is going to set up a map already for 9-bit armies. So we're going to start with a small blank template. And that's going to come in with some initial settings and so make it easier so we don't have to worry about making details so specifically so it'll work within the game. I'm going to call this level, we're going to call this level my custom map. You can give it a unique name if you like. What this is going to do is going to create the map files. It's going to create a directory within your in fact, if we go to save, let's see, save TED as, you can see the directory where it saves it. It saves it in the custom maps directory. This is under your Steam local files directory. And it will put it in here, and it says my custom map right here. This is where all the files are saved. And you can save my custom map here. I'm just going to save over it. This is where all the files are going to be until you convert it into a mod. To start with, I'll show you how to navigate this this map view. You can pan by holding down the right mouse button and dragging, and you can zoom by scrolling with the scroll wheel. You can also hold down the control key and hold down the right mouse button and you will rotate. There's also a game view option. If you hit the space bar, it will switch to the game view, and this is going to simulate what it's going to look like in the game. You can hit space to pop out of the game view and back to the perspective view. If you're curious what these splotches are, these are the shadows of the clouds. Those are actually moving in the game. They just look like a cow pattern here, but just, you know, ignore it. It's fine. All right, so to start with, I'm going to get rid of these resource nodes because I don't want them placed there. So these are considered server objects. There's two types of props in this engine. There are server objects and then there are props. Props are basically non-gameplay specific items, so these are the props are things that are, you know, can be placed around and don't necessarily have gameplay implementations. And server objects are elements that have gameplay implementations, like this is the resource node. For starters, I'm going to select, we're going to go into server object modes by selecting this object tab up here. And the resource nodes are considered server objects. I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to press delete. I'm going to select this one and press delete. And this is our player starts. So I'm going to take and I'm going to move this. I'm going to select it and move it off to the edge of the map here. You could also, if you wanted to, simply delete it, and it's still selected over here. Hold down Shift and then left mouse button click, and it will place a new one. That's the same for the resource nodes as well. So we could take our resource object 00, which is under object miscellaneous, and we could plant some of those around for our resources for our players by holding down Shift and clicking the left mouse button. There you go. So now we actually have all the working requirements for a game. If we exported this would actually work. It wouldn't be a very fun game, but it would work. So let's take and kind of design out what I want, or what we want our map to look like. Now, an easy way to do this is go and select this color tab, and I have color set to red. You can set yours to red as well if you want. Whenever you're doing anything with brushes, they consider this gridded area a brush. You can increase and decrease the size by Holding down the left bracket key to shrink it and the right bracket key to enlarge it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start splotching out what I want the play area of this map to be. We're going to eventually remove this, but this is going to help us kind of design out what we want this map to be. So this is going to be the player's base area. And then I want to have some channels that the player can move through to get to the other player. It doesn't matter if they're perfect because these are going to be raced. This is literally just like concepting. I'm just going to draw some lines in here that I think would these are going to be channels I can move through. I'm going to add a resource area here, a resource area here, and I'm going to try to mimic it on both sides so that it's fair for the players. And then and maybe one that goes down here, one that goes down here. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. All right, so this is going to be basically the design of our map. And the red is the play area, and the brown is going to be the non-play area. So I think I'm going to make this a canyon. So the area down here is going to be the base of the canyon, and this area will be the elevated part of the canyon. So I'm going to go into the height mode, which is we're going to change the height of this terrain plane here. And the tool I'm going to use for that, you can use this additive conical brush to see an example of how this works. Set the intensity to something like 300, or I'm sorry, 10. Set the intensity to something like 10, and if you click on it, you will start to see the terrain rising. It can be very, very subtle, but you can see that the terrain has risen. Depending on the size of the brush, you may have some slowdowns, but you can take and drag around in here and you can see the terrain rising. Okay, so I'm just using Control Z to undo this stuff. So I'm going to select the level brush, and this is going to move everything up to a specific level. I'm going to set the height to 300. Now if I click this out here, it's going to make a bulge that goes up to the height of 300. This is still not what I want, but I'm going to undo that, and then I'm going to click the disable attenuation button. Now when I do it, you're going to see that it's going to have sharp edges on it, and that's really what I want for our canyon, because I want our canyon to kind of look like this. Now we could go through and literally paint all the cliffs, or all the canyon cliffs like this, but I'm going to cheat. So I'm going to undo this and undo the previous. There we go. So now we're back to the original. And then I'm going to take and we're going to go down to this option here. I'm going to set the max height to 300 and the min height to 300. And then I'm going to hit apply, and you'll see the entire map change. And so now this map is all 300 units high. So what I'm going to do is go back up to this leveling tool, this leveling brush, and I'm going to set the height to 0. And you can control the size of this brush by using either the radius up here, or you can use the bracket keys on your keyboard by holding them down. And now when I do this, it's going to pull it down to 0 height, and it's going to create those canyons. And I only want to do it on my red marked areas, obviously. Alright, I got our map carved out here. And we still don't have our resources set up here, so I think I'm going to go in and add Under objects, I'm going to add these server objects. I'm going to add 5 resource nodes in here and 5 resource nodes in here. That'll give people something to battle over. We don't need these red markings anymore, so I'm just going to go to the color tab here, and I'm going to, an easy way, you could set it to white. What we're going to do is basically just clear this all out. If you want a quick way to grab colors, you can go on the map, hold down Alt, it'll bring up this little eyedropper, and it will select the color that's under the terrain at a time. I want to fill this in with white, so I can start either painting it like this, or I can hold down the control key and drag a box, which is a bit faster. You want to be careful not to overwrite the colors on the edge here, so it doesn't matter if you do it a little bit, but try to keep that as maintained as possible. Let's do this, get rid of that, get rid of that. I got some red up here. Yep. Get rid of that. And then... Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to adjust the passability of the map, because for right now, if I click on this pass button, this is basically what the AI uses to move units around the map. The green area is considered all valid movement for the units, which means they literally drive up these cliffs and on top of here, it's not going to care. It's going to assume they're all the same. In order to correct this, we can use the automated feature called Generate Passability. If I click that, and you don't have to change any of these settings, just click OK. And now what it does is it generates cliffs for the cliffs, and it takes and leaves the ground passability. Now you'll notice there's a couple holes in here. You could see where it didn't enter the cliffs correctly. It's not a perfect tool, but it does make the process a lot easier. Let's take and go to the cliff. If you select this cliff mode here, you can now go in and manually paint cliffs back in here. Okay. And let's do this for the other side as well. I'm using Control and right mouse button to rotate the camera around. I got these cliffs a little too close to the edge of the world. That's why the passability didn't, the generator didn't catch it correctly, but that's fine. All right, so now that that's in, I'm going to take and set up the tops of these cliffs, or these canyon cliffs, as steep, which will allow flying vehicles to fly over it, but not units to fly over it. So I could take and paint these in. You can also change the size of the brush, just like the other one with the bracket keys. I could fill it in like that, or I could use the flood fill, and it's going to fill up to the boundaries of the color. If you have a hole in any of your cliffs there, it's going to spill through. You can undo and try to fix it. All right. Okay, so the passability is set up. The AI will know how to maneuver this map. And let's go back to height, the height tab. Okay, the next step would be let's make a image for the mini-map to use. And I'm going to go up to Tools, Generate Map Preview Image, and we're going to do the 2048 by 2048. You'll see a little flash. That's it generating the image. Now let's create the mod file. We're going to go to File, Mods, and then in here we're going to do the Create Mod, and we're going to call it My Custom Map. I'm going to put the description as the same. I'll use my name. You can put an image in here. It can be any JPEG. That's what's going to show up in the workshop. And then now we have my custom map. Let's click that, and let's go to Add Map. And in here, we're going to add my custom map. Doesn't need to be the same name as the mod. This could be something different, more descriptive. It's going to be a 2-player custom map. That's just the description. Make sure it's going to the right directory. Usually it defaults to the correct directory, but it's not, it'd be probably good to double check. All right, and let's browse for this map preview image. That's the one we generated. It's going to show up as this target here. It's my custom map, and put that in there. We want these to be green and say found. This is the server objects files and the passability files that we set up prior. Make sure that they're directed to the same directory as what's up here, because if they're not, you're going to get some real problems. If they aren't, simply go up to the file and do a save as for your server object files, and target them to the same directory as where your intent file is. But usually that won't be a problem. And we hit OK. It's going to say success. Map has been added to the custom maps. Now we can. We don't need to worry about this, but we can take and exit our terrain editor. Load up the game. Okay, now that the game is loaded up, we can go to mods, check the My Custom Map mod. We can go to Versus and we can select our custom map and we can start a match to test it out. And it looks like everything is working just fine. This completes this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll be covering cosmetics, placing props, and colorizing the terrain to make the map look pretty.